Everyone, today I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to utilize Jamboard. Jamboard is part of the suite of apps that come in your Google Apps for Education, and if you scroll down you will see that Jamboard is right there. And this is a great tool to use to have your students collaborate with each other. I used it a lot over distance learning, and you could even use it in your classroom. So I wanted to show you just how I utilized it and how some of our colleagues are going to be utilizing it this year as well. So you can see the first way that I utilized this over distance learning was I put in our anchor charts here from Teachers College. So the techniques the author used and why they used it. And then I asked my students to insert a sticky note saying one of the techniques that the author used and their goal. And you can see on the next slide, here are some of their sticky notes that they did. And to add their sticky notes, all the students did was come over to this bar of options and you just click this sticky note and you typed it there. And they could choose whichever color they wanted to. And then when they click save, you can see that there it is. And I did go over with them, keep it at a reasonable size, make sure everything fits, don't put it on top of another person's sticky note. So that sort of thing. You can use it as a quick check-in there as well. I also used it at the end of the year to ask them what their favorite 5th grade memories were. And you can see that I even added my Bitmoji back here, and I'll show you how to insert a background like this. One of the ways that some of our colleagues are going to use it this year is using their Bitmoji as well. And they're going to type their question or whatever their question of the day is for their students, and then they will have their students insert sticky notes, on here. So maybe student 1 inserts it over here and whatnot. So they will have lots of sticky notes surrounding this. And you can go ahead and add extra slides as well. So you can see that she has 2 different classrooms that the students could use. To delete something, you would just click it and you get to these 3 dots to delete. You send this out to your students just like you would normally in Google Classroom. So if I was going to send out that slide, the Science Jams slide, to my students, I would go ahead and go into classwork. I would add it as an assignment for them, and it will show up right there in your Google Drive as something you can share out with them. And you will want to make it that the students can edit that file. That's important if you want them all to be on the same one and kind of see each other's feedback. Now, when you create a Jamboard, you're going to just click this orange plus sign, and you will see that it gives you a blank screen. What's different about Jamboards versus Google Slides is on Google Slides, you can insert a background image and the students can't mess with it. With Jamboard, it's a little more limited in that it only gives you these 7 choices. So you have the white background, you can use the dots, you can use the lines, you can use the grid or the gray grid, blue, and black. But you can also create your own backgrounds, which is what I did for the Science Jam here and for this over here. And I just created that in Google Slides, or you could use PowerPoint. I think I did those in PowerPoint actually, just using my Bitmoji. You could set that up however you wanted to. But let's say that you just wanted a background of a certain graphic organizer. What you're going to do is go right over to your options here and click Add Image. And we're going to do a Google image search. So let's say you want your students working with a Venn diagram. You can just type in Venn diagram and find one that you like. It's going to insert it for us right on this slide. and then you can resize it to make it bigger. Now the thing is that you are going to have to do a little bit of pre-teaching here for your students because they can delete this. Okay, they have the editing privileges. So they could click this and they could delete it. You're going to want to talk to them about how they are going to add a sticky note, or they can use the pen, however you want to set that up to fill in this Venn diagram. So maybe I want to put in a sticky note here. Perhaps we're comparing Ellis Island with Angel Island. So the sticky notes, you can use yellow, green, blue, pink, orange, or clear. I'm going to go ahead and do a clear one. I want one that says Ellis Island and one that says Angel Island. And then you can manipulate those. So you can drag them over where you want them to go and resize them. And you can see I chose the clear there, so that's why they are not filled in. And then you can have your students work together in groups or individually to fill this in. So you can fill it in with a pen here. We also have a marker, a highlighter, and a brush. So they could physically write it out. That would work well maybe if they were on iPads. I prefer to have them use the sticky notes and just jot their thinking, like a port in New York, for example. And then I also usually will have them write their name, just so I know who is doing which sticky notes, and then they could put it in there. There's so many different ways you could do this. You could do it as like an SEL check-in, like how are you feeling today? What's on your mind, that sort of thing. You could do it as an exit ticket for the end of a lesson. There's just so many different possibilities, but it does just require a little bit of pre-teaching that you teach them not to touch it. Because you see, when I touched this image, it put everything in the back. Now when I click off of it, it will put everything back how it is. You can also add additional slides, just like in Google Slides, so you could have them work through. If you wanted each student to be working on their own, then when you assign it to them, make a copy for each student. So remember those three options in Google Classroom. We have that they can view it, that they can edit it, and that you want to make a copy. So however you want to utilize it, if we are in the classroom, you could have this up on the projector and students could be doing it, especially if we're going to have to maintain those 6 feet of distance. In the classroom, it's going to be harder for them to have those kind of group discussions, so you could have them all working on the same Jamboard. There are so many different possibilities for this tool. I have only just scratched the surface of it. I would love to hear any ideas that you come up with on how you could utilize this. I will attach maybe a Google Doc or something to this tutorial as well, where we can just kind of brainstorm ideas, or maybe a Jamboard where we can just brainstorm ideas. But I hope that this tutorial kind of helps you figure out how to use it, play around with it. Let me know if you have any questions, and have fun.